Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams, kicking off Mother's Day weekend with our Cannabis Culture segment brought to us by Hi There, where we cover the latest in cannabis edutainment. Now, on the Hi There platform, you will find a cannabis-friendly social network. Today, I have the pleasure of chatting with journalist Danielle Simon Brand, author of Weed Mom, the Canna-Curious Woman's Guide to Healthier Relaxation, Happier Parenting, and Chilling the F Out. Now, during the pandemic, alcohol culture was amplified. For many, it seemed that any time was, in fact, wine o'clock, especially for us overburdened moms. Unfortunately, it's still very much a habit many have yet to break. And even as life gets back to normal, many are stuck in a rut. Today, we are talking about medicinal cannabis for stress relief as a social alternative to alcohol. Now, she's just one of a growing number of mamas who are trading mimosas for cannabis. And as featured in the Good Morning America segment, weed moms are the new wine moms. Her book explains cannabis benefits over alcohol, particularly for moms. Now, being a cannabis advocate and huge aficionado myself, I can attest to all of the benefits. As a parent, I'm also constantly looking for ways to manage the stresses of everyday life. Mindful breathing, exercise, proper diet, these are all good, but who has the time for all that with kids running around? Parents are now turning to cannabis and CBD to aid them through their days and make them able to be more relaxed parents. Of individuals in favor of recreational legalization, women are more likely than men to express interest in ingesting cannabis-infused products if they're in the form of baked goods, candies, cooking ingredients, and non-alcoholic beverages. And when you take age into consideration, the desire to consume marijuana-infused products is the most prevalent among millennial women. That's right. Now, here's a lesson for all marketers. This surprising shift in interest towards cannabis among millennial women with kids may be reframing the very idea of modern family and what it means to be a good mom. And here to break it all down is Danielle Simon Brand. Welcome back to the show, stunning mama.
Hello, Zen. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be back.
You look absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Amazing book, by the way. I've read it through and through. You are basically authorizing fellow moms to inhale, covering the intersections of parenting and cannabis. And your aim is to push the conversation to a more progressive place, which is a very fitting topic for this segment, as Hi There's mission is a platform aimed to demystify the stigma. What inspired you to write this book, and how has cannabis changed your parenting ways?
Great question. So, cannabis was not my thing for a long time. I was just a mom in my 30s, doing my thing, living my life and, trying to have a career, trying to have a social life at the same time, the struggles that all of us are really familiar with. And I started freelance writing. I was kind of breaking into a new career and kind of fell in love with cannabis from this intellectual perspective. I mean, it's not as cool, I guess, as saying, I had a first experience that was amazing, but honestly, I fell in love with it from an intellectual perspective. I found out it's fascinating. It bridges science and culture and social justice and media and business and all these different aspects of life that I'm interested in, natural living, environment, all these things. And so, I took my first cautious little step into the legal marketplace, and I found out that it made me feel great. It's a wonderful wellness tool. So honestly, it was just, a quick path from there. My first, puff on my yoga mat to becoming a full-on advocate and enthusiast. And I wrote this book because I know the struggles that moms are going through. We're tired. We don't have enough time for self-care, as you just mentioned. We are burned out. We have so many responsibilities and so much on our plate. And this plant actually, it helps us. Instead of bringing us down like alcohol or having tons of side effects like pharmaceuticals, cannabis actually promotes health and well-being. So that's why I thought, this is for moms and they don't know it yet. So let me tell them.
You couldn't be more right. You hit it right on. I call cannabis a super medication because it is such a wide window of therapy. It is and has such a wide window of therapeutic potentials for so many different ailments. And another benefit is the light side effects of cannabis in comparison to many other pharmaceutical drugs. I mean, while cannabis is not, damaging organs as many pharmaceutical medications can do, sure, it has some of those other lingering side effects, if you're feeling a little bit dizzy or whatnot. whatnot, but nowhere near to where the opiates are, destroying organs, so to speak. And when you look at the economics, people will consume a good as long as the benefit exceeds the cost, right? So with the legalization of cannabis, the cost has been greatly reduced in acquiring it. And in addition, the market has become safer and more innovative. Is this something we should be talking openly to our children about? I mean, hey, mommy smokes weed. What are your perspectives here?
Yeah, that is a great question. And honestly, I say in the book that it depends on a lot of things, where you live, the legal status of cannabis, because right now we're in such an uneven patchwork of access and legality. So, obviously you want to take that into account. You want to take into account your co-parenting situation, whether you have an ex that might, make it difficult for you if you are an open cannabis consumer, your job, obviously. But, as long as it feels safe enough, I do think these are important conversations to have with our kids and our families, because the narrative about cannabis has been so negative up until really recently. And, DARE programs today continue to teach kids some misinformation about cannabis. And, we want to get to them first. We want to, prime them for the information that cannabis is a helpful and healing plant. It should be respected. It's not for kids' brains. It's an adult activity, but something that, we can normalize and really change the narrative about for the future.
Very true. Changing the narrative, it really does begin there. And I've talked to different types of people, leaders, shamans, celebrities, politicians, and some really describe cannabis as so powerful because it allows the individual into these portals of insight and into diverse thinking patterns. And while allowing the individual to engage in normal daily functions, you're also at a much calmer state. So it enables a lot of people to kind of experience a slightly altered perspective throughout their day, kind of, managing moods. So I do love it for that reason. But I'll pivot to something a little bit more, statistic based. So according to the National Institute of Health, people have used marijuana or cannabis, so to speak, to treat their ailments for at least 3,000 years. Okay. And cannabis, we know, is made up of more than 120 components, which are known as cannabinoids. CBD and THC are the two most well-known and researched cannabinoids. And THC is responsible for the high that many people associate with cannabis, while CBD is non-intoxicating, non-euphoric component, which you see in the form of like oils, gummies, drinks, and other products for medical purposes. And this is for our audience out there that's trying to compartmentalize this. What products do you recommend, Danielle, for beginners, for a mom that just wants to take the edge off and just give it a go?
Yeah, well, okay, you mentioned different cannabinoids, and absolutely, I think CBD is the first step for so many moms. First of all, it's 100% legal across the United States, so that's a big boon. I would look for full spectrum CBD, so that has a tiny, tiny bit of THC in it below the legal limits of 0.3%, which is actually really low. But CBD is being studied for anxiety, for help with sleep and relaxation, for pain relief, lots of things that moms could really use throughout the day. So I think CBD is a great entry point. And then after that, THC, if you want to add it on, if it's legal in your state, if you have access, I always say start low and go slow. So, if you're going to take an edible, start with less than you think you might need, less than a serving size, because, you don't want to have a bad experience. I think, I want to gently guide moms through this process because we have a lot to do, right? We don't have time to get, too inebriated, too intoxicated and not be able to parent. So obviously start low and go slow. 2.5 milligrams of edible THC is a good place to start just to see how it lands with you. And I always recommend doing that at a time that you're not actively parenting or solo parenting, just to make sure that, you understand how it affects you. And then after that, you can slowly titrate upwards until you find your sweet spot. THC is really, really dose dependent. So small doses will have one effect and larger doses will have a different effect. So small doses might help you with anxiety, relieving anxiety, but if you take too much, it could make you more anxious. So it's all about finding your sweet spot personally.
Couldn't agree more. And back to your book, it's true that ditching the mimosas is actually important because alcoholism and drug addiction or seem to be on the rise, and especially during the pandemic. But another comprehensive review of evidence published last year in the journal Clinical Psychology Review revealed that using cannabis may help people with alcohol or opioid dependencies to fight their addictions. So there you go, another reason as to why this plant is truly revolutionary. But listen, we've run out of time. I want to make sure that everybody understands how to access your book, how to download it, where to find it. It is Mother's Day weekend, and I do believe that this is probably a great little gift to even give your fellow mom, your girlfriend. I mean, this is a book that offers so much insight. You guys, you definitely have to check out her book. Tell us where we can get it.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon, or you can ask your local bookshop to carry a copy. That's always fun for supporting local bookstores and for authors.
Absolutely. Let's check out Danielle Simone Brand .com. So DanielleSimoneBrand.com, or you can go to Amazon and just search for a weed mom. She's also on the gram with her name at Danielle Simone Brand. That was our cannabis culture segment brought to us by Hi There. You're listening to a moment of Zen. You're listening to a moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.